Okay, so for this section of the workshop, we are going to be discussing some, it's just a brief introduction to some of the lights that you'll find in any 3D software package. For the purposes of this workshop, though, we'll be using Maya. Maya is the kind of the industry standard that you'll most likely to find out there. But again, any principle that we teach you here can be adjusted for any other 3D software package. Again, these are just basic core ideas. We're just using Maya to exemplify them. So as you can see, we've got this little, just very basic scene setup. It's just a plane with a bunch of spheres sitting on top of it. There's a shiny reflective blend material that's been applied to all the objects. It's all the same material. But basically, in order to start creating lights, the way that we get to them is we go up to the Create tab up here. We go to Create Lights, and you'll find all 6 of the lights located here that you have to choose from. You can also click the spacebar in your workspace, go to Create, again same thing, lights, and then any one of these here. Go ahead and break off this tab so we can have these up here. The first light that we're going to be discussing is the point light. The point light is, well, it's pretty straightforward. It's just a light that exists starting at this individual point, this XYZ point in the 3D space, and light emanates from that point in all directions. It works similarly to a light bulb, would be the closest real world example, except for a point light is kind of infinitely small and doesn't actually have that kind of initial radius set to it. If you hit 7 on the keyboard, you can kind of see the interactive lighting view here, so you can kind of see what the point light looks like. Again, it's just this isolated area where light rays shoot out from. And if we render this, you can kind of see. And there are some, there's some benefits to using the point light. There are some drawbacks to it. One of the big benefits of, one of the biggest drawbacks of a point light is that it shoots. Since it shoots rays in all directions, it's not exactly the most efficient light. Once we get into doing some shadows and some other things, you'll notice that a point light will more often than not create some noisy artifacts. But that being said, if you're doing a light bulb, if you're doing some other basic things, the point light's going to be your friend. The second light that we're going to be discussing here is the spotlight. Now, spotlight is pretty much exactly what you would think it would be in terms of real world lighting. Like you just think of a stage light. It has a, this is a pretty good icon for it. It has like an infinitely small space similar to a point light, but it shoots lights in a direction in a very specified way. So as you can see, as we're rotating this around, it's kind of illuminating different sections of the of our scene. And the thing is that about a spotlight is that it can be a little finicky to adjust and to position. So the way that I like to do it is, if once you have it selected, you can go to Panels and then Look Through Selected, and you are now looking through the spotlight. So any movement that your camera makes is an adjustment to the light itself. So if you kind of lift it up and around, if you want the light to be existing down here, that's all fine for it. So we'll put the light like this. We'll switch back to our perspective view. We'll run this one, and then we'll see. Let's save this image. So we have an example of the area light. Then we'll run the spotlight. Spotlight is generally, from my personal experience, is the light that you're going to use more often than anything else. Again, so you can see it here. It's a specified area of light. It creates like a pool of light. By default, there's this hard edge. You can control that hard edge in the when you go to edit the attributes of the light. So if you look down here, you'll find the cone angle, and the cone angle is the overall cone size. So as you can see, the larger you make it, the smaller. It's all a radius, or it's all the size of the angle of emanating from the light. You've got the penumbra angle, What the penumbra is it refers to the shadowed edge of the spotlight. Basically, increasing this will increase the softness of the edge. As we increase this number, you can see you can see the edge of the spotlight getting softer as well. The drop off is another attribute here that is very similar to the penumbra, but it doesn't soften the edge. It changes the amount of fall off starting at the center of the light, so that the more that you increase the drop off, the faster the light will drop off from the center point. And actually, the spotlight's nice because it has this little preview of the light shape itself, of like how the edge will look. So we'll save this one, and we'll say we'll run it to judge the difference between the once we added the drop off a little bit here. So as you can see, it's much faster fall off there from where we were in the last one. So again, the spotlight is probably your best weapon. You can also you can do things like let's see, you can create barn doors. If you go to light effects and you scroll down to barn doors, what barn doors do are allow you to kind of you can see the little preview window here. It allows you to like flap off areas of the light if you want to just kind of if you want to create a slit of light so it's not quite that perfect round shape, you can use it for that as well. Save, render, and you can see we've got more of a slit of light emanating from our spotlight. The barn doors are a term from actual studio lighting, where you actually, like, the barn doors are a physical flap that gets very hot that surrounds the spotlight. So we'll get more into the spotlight later when we start talking about some of these other attributes that you can change about it. Let's see what else. So let's go and delete that light. The third light that I'm going to be discussing here is the area light. Now, the area light is it is similar to the spotlight, but I lost it. But the main difference is you can see from the icon here that the area light it's like a bank of a fluorescent light. It's like a imagine any type of office or industrial space. You have like a big flat light that emits light in one direction. So you can see that's what it is. And this line that points out from it signifies which way the light is facing. So it has some natural fall off to it. One thing to note, we'll kind of angle it this way. We'll run it so we can get an idea of what that's looking like. Kind of see, ooh, too much. So you can kind of see it's a soft, it's a big soft bodied light. The one interesting element to a area light, it's the only light that will actually, as you increase the size of its icon here, you will actually be increasing the intensity of the light as well. Most of them, the icon is just a idea of, like a quick representation of it, of where the light is and where it's pointing. But the area light actually the intensity is dependent on the size of the light itself too. So that's just something to keep in mind. The area light is good in specific circumstances, but again, similar to the point light, where the point light shoots light rays kind of in all directions, the area light is kind of just massing light rays out of this wide area onto your scene, and it's not quite as specific as a spotlight, so you will get some noisiness coming out of the area light as well. So in the next lecture, I'm gonna be discussing a few other lights. I'll talk about the directional light, the ambient light, and the volume light.